I'm Kwame Alexander, and this podcast was originally inspired by a memoir that I wrote. Not a traditional memoir, a collection of snapshots of a man remembering all the ways he's loved and wanting to share everything he's learned about love with his two daughters, which it turns out isn't a whole lot. A poet grappling with love and longing and loss, with questions he's been too afraid to answer. All right, so look, it's been over a year since the memoir came out, and oh my, what a year it has been, professionally, personally, emotionally, psychologically, all of the above. I'm not even sure where to begin. In our previous episodes, we featured conversation with other men, with fathers, sons, husbands, lovers, partners. For this 1 year later, special, I guess we can call it, because it is pretty special, I thought it'd be kind of perfect to bring some female voices into the fold, to hear their perspectives and help me share my own. And of course, there is no other voice of a woman that has been as challenging for me, as revelatory for me, than my daughter. That's right. Today, I welcome my firstborn, my kid, Nandi. How you doing?
Nervous, because I'm very private. I don't do this. When you have your events, like I'm in the background. I'm not out in the forefront. So this is actually a little crazy.
I'm really grateful that you're doing it, and it's also a little bit ironic because in the very beginning of your life, you were out there. You were front and center.
Yeah.
You had a lot to say. And so, with time, we change a little bit.
For sure.
I always start off, or at some point during the episodes, with a poem from the book, which I know we're going to get into.
Okay. And I'm allowed to be honest, right?
I wouldn't have it any other way.
Okay.
So to get us started, I'll just share the first part of an essay I wrote called Portrait of a Father. I am the father of two daughters, one freshly planted in high school with big Hollywood dreams and a post-COVID anxiety that amped up her already justified stressful reaction to her parents' separation. The other, newly 30, her career blossoming, the teenager informs me that she simply doesn't have the energy to talk with me after a long day spent talking to friends and teachers and coaches and her advisor, and that if I wanted to engage with her, I would need to drive her to school in the morning so we could chat, rather than make her use public transportation. She kept her word. The other daughter, the firstborn, who came to live with me at 15, a quiet, consistently kind, altruistic, reliable, and industrious woman, told me in the middle of a familial disagreement, one of only a few heated arguments we've ever had, that she would never speak to me again. It's been 3 years, and she is immovable. At night, I sit in the dark, in the space between hope and heart, the grief stealing warmth, trying to remember how to love, trying to figure out the right words to bring you both back to me. Without branches, a tree cannot produce anything because there is nowhere to grow. There are mornings when I wonder if I am still a father. On those days, I read. I read my journal, and I sit between the laughter, trying to remember us like we were before. Let me just say that let's just be open and as public as we feel we want to be, and as private as we need to be.
For sure.
In my books, Nandi, some of my books, like in the crossover, when a parent and a child get to this sort of difficult place in their lives and there's tension and they're not able to really communicate, I employ this device where I have each character ask each other character a question, and they go back and forth. Mm-hmm. So why don't we start with maybe just asking each other questions?
Okay.
And I'll start.
All right.
This was your idea.
Yeah.
You texted me and you said, if you're open, I am open to doing the podcast.
For sure.
Why'd you say that?
So I think that if we rewind back to maybe 2023, I reached this stage in the process of forgiveness towards you, of being empathetic and seeing the bigger picture of what was going on at the time of why we separated. And for me, I had to look at different elements of what was going on. It was COVID. You were going through a separation. You still hadn't healed from Granny's passing. So I think that with all of that, and in like this blossoming career that you had, it was a lot of stimuli that came into play. And so I had to take into account of that. And that's why I was able to have the conversation with you. And so after we had that conversation and it went so well and things started to progress and we were really starting to form a bond again, I started to think, well, if me and my dad can have, this fallout and then have a conversation and things are going in the right direction, there are plenty of people out in the world who can listen to this, learn from it, and maybe take that extra step of calling their daughter or their son or calling their mom or their father to reconcile and build a new relationship.
That's like, first of all, that's beautiful. And thank you for that insight, that self-awareness. But that's like really adult. Like, I'm supposed to be the parent. I'm supposed to have that kind of realization.
Don't they say the roles reverse at a certain point in a parent-child relationship?
Yeah. I mean, that's really remarkable that and it's not, because you've always been a really intelligent person. So for you to be able to have that sort of realization, that awareness, I'm grateful.
Yeah, it took me some time. I was very angry and very upset for a very long time. And I think that once I was able to deal with the anger, I'm able to come on the other side of it. It's like the process of grief. It's the same kind of thing.
Right. I got a bunch of questions, but it's your turn.
Okay. I guess for me, my question would be, do you understand that you were just not in a good place at that time? And like the relationships around you were completely affected by what was going on with you mentally?
Well, I certainly understand it now. I did not understand that in the midst of it. I mean, the way you sort of summarize it, in the middle of COVID, going through a separation, dealing with the passing of your mother. Nah, in the moment I didn't. Mm-hmm. And the career just exploding. No, I thought I had a handle on it. I thought, okay, I'm not doing drugs. Yeah. I'm not drinking alcohol. I'm handling it.
Right.
But it sort of took its toll on me in other ways. And one of the biggest ways it took its toll on me was having this disagreement with you and really thinking that I was right and you were wrong, and never understanding that in the midst of our disagreement, you were not feeling the unconditional love that you should have been feeling, that you should have received from your father. Mm-hmm. And so that made me wrong. I don't like using terms right and wrong, but as my mind was thinking right and wrong, that is the wrongest thing. Like no child should ever feel that from their parent. Mm-hmm. And so what I realized is that it wasn't about right and wrong. It was about love, and I wasn't showing it. And the other ironic thing is I had been complaining that my father never said he loved me. So yes, I understand all of that, the stimuli you talked about and how it was impacting my relationship with my father, my relationship with Samaya, my marriage, and ultimately the biggest sort of epic fail was with you. I get it now. But no, I didn't get it during the time.
I understand that now. It took me some time to understand that. I never thought this is my dad, because it completely blindsided me. It was like a complete 180 from the person that I had always known. So I knew this was not Shu, but it still hurt.
So, my audience is the audience for this podcast. Many people on the tour for the memoir and many people listening. Inevitably, they're going to want to know what happened between us. Mm-hmm. I was never interested in sharing. I was like, it's none of y'all's business. And they were like, but you were a memoir. It is our business. Yeah. But I'm like, I don't need to get into specifics. Mm-hmm. We had a disagreement.
Right.
And so I guess my next question is, in your life during these past 4 years, have your friends, had the people who loved you asked you what happened, and how have you responded?
So because you're a public figure, and when your book came out, people that are not in my close inner circle were asking me what was going on. And I've always been, if you don't know me personally, you would not know that I'm a private person. So the people who don't know me, they get a snippet of my life from what they see on social media, from what I want to post. Mm-hmm. But even when we had our fallout, I never put out there that, oh, me and my dad went through this, that, and third, da, 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 da. Or even when we reconciled, I never said, oh, me and my dad are great now, da, da, da. I've never been that type of a person. So for my close friends, they knew when it happened, what happened. But as far as like people who are like associates or know of me from like college or whatever, I never felt like I needed to say anything or wanted to say anything, because A, I'm very private, but B, like, it's under their business. And I'm not that type to put you on blast because you're a public figure. I would never want to be that kind of person to expose you, right or wrong.
Right.
So.
Well, thank you.
Because I could put you on blast.
You could.
If I wanted to.
There's the Nandi.
But honestly, like, it was never like that.
I mean, when I look back on it, we had an argument that for all intents and purposes was about something that could have easily been resolved. Mm-hmm. Had I chose to make a different decision, or had I had the capacity emotionally and psychologically to make a different decision, it was a simple fix.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it was a large thing.
Yeah. I think that this small thing got blown way out of proportion, and a lot of things were said and done from this small argument.
Your turn.
Do you understand why I needed space from you?
So what's interesting about that question is I was having a conversation yesterday about this very thing. And it had to do with family members. And is it okay for a family member to write off another family member? To say, I'm done with you? And so the debate was two-sided. Well, if it's someone who loves you and you love them, no, you don't have the right to do that. And the flip side was, at a certain point, if it's dangerous to who you are physically or mentally or emotionally, then yeah, you have the right.
Right.
For those 3 years, Nandi, I could not understand for the life of me how you could not be in touch. I was just like, but we love each other, but I'm your father, but you're my daughter. So whatever the issue is, it's not as big as that. I didn't understand it. Mm-hmm. Now, again, writing this book, which I know we'll talk about a little bit, was a door opener for me, for me to be able to understand more fully what it means to be a father, a son, lover, a partner, a man. Now, I get it. I understand why you needed that space, because at the end of the day, if you love me and I love you, but the way you're showing your love is not consistent with me feeling love and is hurting me, it's causing me some pain, why would I subject myself to that? And so now I gathered that during those 3 years, as painful as it was for me, you had to protect your heart. You had to protect your well-being. You had to protect your sanity. And so I get it.
I'm glad you understand. I needed that.
It was the hardest thing ever. And I remember Steph and I would be like, why can't she just be in touch? And I'd send you little text messages, or I'd call you and say, leave a message. I'm listening to J. Cole and thought about you.
Right.
And I always, it's that simple. We can just.
Yeah, it's not that simple. We have to have the conversation. And you know how I am. I'm not fake. If I have an issue, like, we have to have a conversation. I'm not about to do this small talk with you. I don't care who you are, family or not. Like, because that whole idea that you just presented, that could be applied to your friends. That could be applied to your family members. It can be applied to your spouse. Like, if you're not serving me, if you're giving me stress and you're not bringing peace to my life, you got to go. I don't care who you are, blood or not. That's just how I operate. And so in that moment, I was like, oh, this isn't somebody that I need to be around, because he's hurting me. And it hurt me to do that, because it's not easy to do that. But at the end of the day, my peace is so important.
Right. No, I understand that fully now. During this 3 years, did you ever think, it's possible I may never talk to my father again?
100%.
No way, really?
Because I think that you can never hold anything past anybody, especially with what I've been through in my life. You just never know if that's just the way somebody's about to be, or if they're going to take accountability for their actions and be a better person. I don't hold nothing past nobody.
Oh, I see. You thought that it's possible we could never have a relationship again if I don't get it. Like, correct. It was on me.
Correct.
Okay. That's valid. I accept that. This is a hard question to ask.
Okay.
I don't know if it's my turn. It probably isn't, but I need to
No,
ask
go
this.
ahead. Ask it.
And certainly if you don't want to answer it, you don't want to answer it.
Okay.
Do you feel like there's anything you could have done differently?
100%. I could have not said some of the things that I said. I apologize for that. And I am very apologetic for the things that I said out of anger. But as far as how I felt, I don't apologize for that, because I felt betrayed. I felt discarded. And I felt like I did not matter to you. This is probably my last question. But I guess, has this situation taught you how to handle your relationships in the future? What have you learned from it?
Well, one of the things that I've learned is I've really looked at how my mother mothered, and how Steph mothers, and how my grandmother's grandmother. And one of the things that I've consistently noticed is that there is a way that women love that is unconditional. 9 times out of 10, most more often than not. And I've tried to realize that I need to become more like that as a father. The men that I saw fathering, I didn't see that. I didn't feel it. So one of the big lessons I've learned is that it's one thing to say, your children come first. It's another thing to act and be that.
Yeah.
And so I've literally had to consciously teach myself and try to do that, because it hasn't been my modus operandi. It hasn't been the way that I've engaged with you and Samaya. And so I've tried to do that, and it's at the forefront of my mind. We will be right back.
Why Fathers Cry 1 Year Later is brought to you by Kirk & Kirk Eyewear. With over 100 years of history in the optical industry, the Kirk family continues to innovate and push the boundaries between fashion and eyewear. Check out the Haiku Collection, a limited edition collaboration with #1 New York Times bestselling author and Emmy award-winning producer Kwame Alexander. Featuring 2 styles and 4 different colorways, each frame is handcrafted in Italy and beautifully packaged with a gorgeous booklet featuring original haiku penned by Kwame himself. The Haiku Collection, available now. Head to kirkandkirk.com/Kwame and find your perfect frames.
When I wrote this memoir, I didn't send it to anyone who's mentioned or talked about in the book to read it before it was published. Did you read it?
Before it came out. I heard about it, which I didn't appreciate.
You didn't hear about it from me?
No. Of course, we weren't speaking. I heard about it from your brother. And your brother said, "Oh, your dad's writing a book." I was like, "Oh, okay. Like, that's normal." And he's like, "Oh, a book about, it's a memoir." I said, "A memoir? Like, is everybody, like, what are we doing?"
Right.
And so I so happen to have your agent or your publicist.
She was my chief of staff at the time.
Okay. I had her email because she had emailed me about the crossover premiere. And I'm like, well, why am I getting this? Like, what's happening? But anyway, so I deleted it because
this was during the time we weren't talking.
Correct. So then I saw her email. I was like, okay, well, let me just email her and ask her, like, for a copy of this book. And so she sent me the book.
Well, before she sent it and you heard it was memoir, what did you think?
Well, what I thought was in it was, I'm assuming it was going to be about your life. I'm a part of your life. So your kids, your family.
Okay.
And so I was very anxious. I was very upset and eager to see what was in here because, I'm a very private person. So I was like, and this man is the complete opposite. So I know any and everything could be in this book. And I would say I was 100% right when I read it. Of course, you didn't go into detail about why we were not speaking. Mm-hmm. But there were things in there that I would not have wanted public.
Right.
Or I would have wanted a heads up that this was an idea that you had.
Yeah. No, I've heard the same thing from my siblings and my father and Steph. And I think I was definitely selfish. Mm-hmm. And it was more like, well, to be fair.
Here we go.
I didn't know I was writing a memoir. It was just love poems. It sort of evolved into this memoir. So,
and in the evolution of this memoir, who knew besides, like, I'm assuming your agent, your publishing company, whatever.
Right. When we got to that point where it was sort of evolving into this memoir, it was so far along. Mm-hmm. And so
suspicious.
By this time, it was like, well, it's already done now.
Okay. So at what point before this went to press, mm-hmm. did you think, oh, now let the people know?
It was in February of 2023.
Okay.
And I got the advanced reading copy, the copy that you ended up reading.
Yeah.
And I read it. And I called my publisher and I said, we can't publish this.
Okay.
That was the moment where I realized, okay, I don't know what you think, what you did here, but this isn't going to work. That's when I knew there was an issue. And I asked her to pull it. And her response was, well, the books are already being printed now. And she sort of talked me off my ledge. She's like, this is going to help so many people. And that's when I started sending it out to everybody.
So if I would have not reached out to Sarah Grace, would I have still gotten a copy of the book?
Absolutely.
Okay.
In fact, when I realized it was a memoir, I realized that I was writing for you and Samaya. For Samaya, that hopefully one day she might read it and be able to understand her father a little bit better.
Right.
For you, and this is how God, the creator, whomever you believe in, works. This was a last ditch effort by me to help me get on the right path to show you that I'm ready. Now, it wasn't even a conscious thing. It was subconscious. Again, because I didn't even know I wasn't ready. I thought this whole 3 years that you were the issue. But this was my subconscious saying, yo, this is it. This is not serving you. You may not understand it, but this is necessary. And I've always felt like writing that book was a door opener for me. As many issues as it may have caused in the moment, ultimately, it helped me and my father have a better, more authentic communication with each other. And we've talked about things in the past year we've never talked about in my life. He's apologized for things. My father's never said, I'm sorry. I've extended some grace to him. I understand him and appreciate him a lot more. It helped me understand the uncoupling, the separation with Steph. It helped me appreciate what she did, how she raised our kid into this beautiful, dynamic woman. It helped me keep my promise that I made to my mother when she passed, that I would take care of the family. And so it made me a lot more engaged with my sisters. And ultimately, Nandi, I'm curious if you agree with this. I feel like writing this book opened the door to bring your father back to you.
Yes, it did, but it's twofold. So it was not only just the book and how like you were really reflecting and you seemed to take accountability. And through that book, it showed me that you were not the person that I encountered 3 years ago. But it was a combination of the book and then my mom read it.
No, she didn't.
Yeah. And
your mom read it?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
We could talk about that off podcast. But my mom read it, and her first words to me were, "Your dad misses you. He loves you. He wants to talk to you. He clearly seems apologetic for everything that has transpired." And I think that for my mom to say that, I was like, okay, that means something. So let me like hear him out.
Well, that means everything.
I mean, she wasn't happy with what was said.
Well,
but for her to say that, I think it's a big deal. So,
well, here's the thing. And I don't want to spend too much time on this, but this book was a self-portrait. It was my painting. It was me. But there were other people in the painting. Right? I try not to tell other people's stories. I try not to paint anybody in a negative light. Okay, maybe my father. Not maybe. Okay, I did. You know, I had my issues with him. But Nandi, I don't think I tried not to paint anybody in a negative light. And it was all about me and my issues.
Yeah, I don't think it was negative. I just think, you know, some of us would prefer not to have certain things out there.
Right.
So no, it was not negative. It was just, you know.
Yeah. Wow. We met in Old Town Alexandria.
Yeah.
After 3 years. And I remember when I walked in and you were sitting down and I said, so how you doing? And I was trying to have small talk and you were like, no,
cut the crap. Let's get to it.
What do you have to say?
Exactly. Because I needed to know what type of time you were on to be able to respond accordingly. Because if you would have responded the way that you responded 3 years ago, I would have just walked away. And that would have been it for me.
I'm so glad that you didn't walk away, and I'm glad that I figured it out.
Yeah, you came in very humble, very apologetic, understanding. You took accountability, and that's all that I wanted.
I'm sorry it took me so long. I mean, in my 50s, and I'm still learning. I mean, I'm still growing, and I tell you, just having you back in my life, I think about you every day, and it just feels good, you know? And so I'm so thankful, honey.
I'm thankful too.
I have some real quick questions that I know.
Can I use the bathroom first? Because you know, you can tell the people.
I can tell
people. Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right. While you're in the bathroom, I'm going to talk to everyone.
Okay.
All right. This is interesting, y'all. So we're having this conversation about being a parent. And y'all know what I've been dealing with in terms of missing my mother and trying to understand my father and our relationship better and trying to be a better father. And, you know, come to find out, one of the things that Nandi has said to me is, when we had our disagreement, is that she would never speak to me again and I would never see my grandchildren. She wasn't pregnant or anything, but in the future, that would never happen. And so as we have reconciled, as we are on this healing path, we had this Sunday dinner. I think Bryant Terry and I talked about it on episode 1, maybe, and it's called Jubilee. And at Jubilee last week, Nandi announced some really life-changing news. I wanted you to be able to say it, so I'm just setting it up. So yeah, y'all, at Jubilee, she made an announcement, and I'll just let my firstborn daughter, Nandi, share with you all that.
All right, I'm pregnant. Yeah.
Well, I mean, how does that feel to say that?
It's still really weird to say.
Right.
It's shocking. I'm still in a state of shock.
Right.
I just take it day by day.
You look just like mommy when you said that.
Oh, she's here.
She is, as we know.
Mm-hmm. Listen.
That's a whole nother thing, right?
Listen, she's here.
She's here. Can we say the gender?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's a boy.
It's a boy.
And no, even though in my wildest dreams, I thought maybe I would have a grandson named Kwame the Third.
No.
No, I never thought that.
Absolutely not.
But I feel like names are so important
for sure,
in terms of us identifying who we were, who we are, and who we will be. And so your son, my grandson's name, can I say it?
Langston
Curtis
Alexander-Hinton.
So that just means the world, Langston.
Mm-hmm.
That's just everything. That's
like you say, you grew up on books. I grew up on books too. You have books everywhere. And Monet loves books too. So it was important for us to have a name with meaning that meant something. And so Langston Hughes is an icon.
right.
So why not? And then it's important for us to honor our ancestors. And so Curtis is a family name.
Are you craving anything?
Yeah. So I was just telling Jordan yesterday, I had wanted Texas Roadhouse. So I got Texas Roadhouse. And today I wanted Thai. So before I came here, because I was like, I know he's not going to have no food because like he
Good
don't
point.
be remembering.
You're right. You're right.
He got to remember now it's important to have the food.
All the time.
All the time. So I got Thai before I came here.
So we've just, like, the whole world knows now, which is okay. I know you're a private person, but it's okay.
It's okay.
Because I am going to be taking Langston everywhere.
Mm-hmm. And so you have mentioned the joke and said, when you go to the Gucci store, you're going to take him. You should go ahead and just take me and Monet.
No, it's not just about the Gucci store. Like, of course, he's going to have Gucci sneakers and a Gucci bib, but it's not just about that. He's also going to be reading Langston Hughes.
For sure.
And he's also going to be watching Broadway musicals.
He's going to be very well-rounded. He's going to watch basketball as well.
Yeah, I know you're a huge WNBA fan.
I am. But he's going to do the sports. We want him to be exposed to the arts.
Yeah,
I want him to be exposed to the outdoors. I want him to travel. I want him to see. I have so many hopes and dreams for him.
I've already purchased a Disney cruise, like a package, a 10-year package. If you all want to come too, you can join us.
Yes. What you thought? Please.
This is a great segue into sort of this lightning round questions that I have for you. And we can answer as many as we can until you have to use the bathroom or you need some Thai food.
Okay.
How are you sleeping?
Good now. I have a sleeping pill.
Okay. And it's okay to take it? It's healthy to take it?
Yeah. But before I wasn't sleeping so well because I had to pee like every 2 to 3 hours. So
what's one of your earliest memories you have with me? I want to know what's in your mind, what you're thinking. And so I'm just curious.
Okay. I remember you had this duplex apartment up in North Arlington, and I used to sleep on the leather couch or something like that. I don't think you and Stephanie were not married yet. Y'all were dating. And I remember you would like have friends over, and when it was time for me to go to bed, you put me on the leather sofa and you would kiss me goodnight. Mm. That's probably one of my earliest memories.
Those were my roommates. They weren't friends. and they were horrible.
Oh, no.
Do you remember your mother and I getting divorced?
I don't remember any of that. I think I was just too young. I don't remember y'all being together at all.
Really?
Yeah, I don't have no memories of y'all being together. I've seen pictures of when I guess we lived in a townhouse, and like
yep.
I remember I've seen that, but I don't remember y'all being together.
What type of impact do you think it had on you, even if you don't remember, or do you?
I don't think it really did because I don't remember y'all being together.
Got it.
So it was just always the norm, like go to daddy's house on the weekends and be with mom during the week.
What do you think? Like, what advice would you have for me? I remember when you went to college, when you left for college, somebody maybe was 3 or 2.
No, she was born my senior year. We're 17 years apart, right?
Right. So she was 1 or 2.
Yeah.
And you gave me some advice.
Yeah.
And maybe it was that year, or it was years later, but here's the advice I remember that you gave me, which I didn't follow, sadly. Do not travel as much. She needs you there. If you do have to travel, take her with you.
Yeah, but I think you followed that. She's been to more countries than I have. And we still have beef. You and I have beef because of that.
Okay, so
like I remember y'all went to like Singapore.
Yep.
Like what? She's been to Singapore, please. Like, but honestly, I do think that you held on to that promise. Like, I think that you did take her whenever, like, if she wasn't in school, whatever, like you took her.
Wow. Okay. What advice would you have for me going forward as a father? To both of you?
Yeah, I think we both need different things. So I'll speak for me.
Okay.
As I'm going through this journey of motherhood, I just need you to be present and continue to check on me, make sure I'm good. And my son, which is crazy to say, is going to need a strong Black male presence, because besides you and my brother and one of my really good friends from college who's going to be his godfather, there's not a lot of Black men who are positive around. And I really need you to step up and show him the way.
I'm all in, as evidenced by the t-shirt I'm wearing now that I purchased at Target last week, which says what, Nandi?
Call me Big Papa.
That's right. I am all in. I cannot wait. I think grandparents are better grandparents than they were parents.
In some cases, yes, I agree with that.
Fortunately, I still get to be a parent, and I still get to get better at it. And I still get to learn a lot.
Yeah.
So thank you for still teaching me.
Yeah. I just hope that you continue to be consistent with me, that you have been, and we be good.
I've talked a lot about why fathers cry at night. I feel like the next memoir is going to be why fathers smile in the morning.
Aw.
Thank you, my dear.
Yeah.
I appreciate you talking today and listening.
For sure.
And I'm here for it. What do you want for dinner?
No, I'm good.
You good?
Yeah.
I will. The food will be at the
Please.
top. I got you.
We need a lot. 30 minutes. Every event for food. Please. And you have to ask, what are you craving? Like, come on, don't be showing up with random stuff. What if I don't want that?
You've been listening to Why Fathers Cry 1 year later. It has been a joy to talk to Nandi, to my firstborn. As you all can see, come a long way because of the people around me who were patient, who tolerated, who taught, who coached, who encouraged. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful for all the people who helped make this podcast happen. Thank you to my producer, SG. Thank you to Jordan Bookie and the Reading Culture for letting us use her amazing studio. Thank you to Burst. Thank you to Tori, to Michelle, to Ariel. And most importantly, thank you all for listening. This is Kwame Alexander. I don't know where we're heading next, what the path will be, what the podcast journey will be. But I know that I'll be signing off today. It's Kwame Alexander, a.k.a. Papa.
Aww.
Peace, y'all.
Why Fathers Cry 1 year later is a Big C Entertainment production. Hosted by Kwame Alexander. Produced by Sarah Grace McCandless. Post-production by Jeremy Brisky at Burst Marketing. This episode was recorded at the Reading Culture Studio with special thanks to Jordan Bookie, to our guest Nandi, and to you for listening wherever you get your podcast. We appreciate you. For the latest news on Kwame's projects, head to KwameAlexander.com.